Good morning. I'm Melissa Roberts, and I am the program coordinator for Bristol's Promise, specifically for the Adverse Childhood Experiences Trauma-Informed Care, which is this network, this group of folks. And I just want to welcome you all. This morning we have a great guest speaker talking about the Handle with Care program. But first, I want to introduce some of our folks. We've got Margaret Feierabend, who is the board president for Bristol's Promise. She is the one that brings these fantastic ideas, and we implement them all, so that's great. We have Brandy Peters, who is our community resource navigator for the Bristol Connect Workforce Sustainability Program that goes into business partners and does wraparound support services for frontline workers. We also, and I don't know if she's on here this morning, Samantha Gray is our parenting education outreach program coordinator, and she is involved in parenting education throughout our region. We also have Samuel Hess, who is our Buckle Up for Life coordinator. I don't think he's on here this morning, but I do see some of our awesome volunteers and interns. Sunshine Hess is on here, but we've got about 6 volunteers and interns who are just amazing and help us do the work that we do every day, day in and day out. So we're thankful for them. So again, I know we've got some new faces here. What I'd like to do is we're going to go ahead and launch into Kim's presentation, and then afterwards we'll kind of share some information and updates that you all might have. If you all do have any questions, you're always welcome to reach out to Margaret, to Brandy, or to me. We do have some subcommittees that are doing some great work. We have a subcommittee that is working on increasing business participation in our trauma-informed care network. Brandy Peters is currently spearheading that effort. We have our First Responders subcommittee working to increase the first responders that attend our meeting and get involved in our network. Melanie Eisen, who I think I saw come in a little earlier with Sullivan County Anti-Drug Coalition, is spearheading that effort. And then we have an internal education committee just researching and finding what kinds of presentations. So if you have ideas or if you want to get involved in that, Margaret Feierabend is currently spearheading that, so you can reach out to her. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Kim Wallace. So Kim is the statewide Handle with Care coordinator for the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police, and Kim has a long history in law enforcement. She was a police chief for a while, and then when she retired, because do we ever really retire, y'all? This is her retirement job, and this is something that Governor Bill Lee has really made a priority in the state of Tennessee, but this is a nationwide program. So even for those of our friends who are here from Virginia, this is not something that is just in Tennessee, but Kim is going to talk more about this program and how it can help our kids and decrease the trauma and help support them in difficult times. So Kim, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Melissa. Yes, this program, we're trying to launch it statewide. As Melissa and I was talking about earlier, there's probably 14 or 15 departments in the state of Tennessee that have been doing the program for a couple of years. What we're going to be emphasizing more, and I'm going to be showing you today, is training, and the training we'll have free on our website. So the objectives today, of course, I know that most of you know what ACEs are, childhood trauma. But why should police and schools and healthcare providers care about trauma, and what is the Handle with Care, and how can we help it to use this program to help kids? I'm going to be showing you the program has a Fidelity of the program says that you have to have 1 hour of training, and that training has to include the ACEs and some childhood trauma. So I know all of you probably know this, but I'm just going to be showing you what we will be doing as far as when we launch it statewide. I'd like to start off with this because we're not all in the same boat. We are all in the same storm. Some are on super yachts, some just have the 1 oar. And that's the way it is with our kids. Some of our kids have parents who read to them tonight, who took them in the bed. But then there's other kids out there that they're being left home alone. They sometimes don't have food to eat. They're being abused. So we have to make sure that we are aware of this, and it's very important when we talk about this. This is a video that Metro and You Have the Power has made about Handle with Care. It's about 5 minutes long. It's a very powerful video, so I'm going to show that, and then we'll come back.
Kim, I'm not hearing any audio on that.
Did you say something?
I'm not hearing any audio. Is anybody else having issues with the audio on that? Yeah. When you shared your screen, did you click the little button that said share computer audio?
I'm not sure if I did or not. I'm sure. There it is. No, it was not. Sorry about that. All right. Back it up here. Can you hear it now?
Sure can.
What's the address of your emergency? Is there somebody else there with you that can help you?
My kids and other husband.
Okay. All right. Listen, is the assailant still nearby?
Hospital! He's about to kill himself! Stop!
Ma'am, what part of your body was injured?
We do know that it is a learned behavior. Children who have been raised in an abusive environment stand a higher chance of becoming a victim or a batterer themselves in adult relationships, and some studies support that it's twice as much.
Go open the door. It's him. Wait, I'm so sad my dad can't kill himself, but my grandpa is here.
Once the officer finds out that there were children involved, they include that information into the report. The reports are reviewed, and that information goes to the responsible person here, who's the point of contact. They would actually get in touch with that school.
Basically, the email lets them know that the child below was involved in a potentially traumatic event, that they were a witness or a victim to this event, and notify your school counselor or your social worker if you're noticing anything different.
This child needs to be handled with more care. You might see them more tired than usual. You might see them sadder. They might be in a situation where they just need a little more care in order to help them be able to be successfully academically.
This hurt. Oh my God. You're on the phone now, Daddy. Here's my name. Hello? Hello? Are y'all on your way?
Yeah, they're coming like in sirens. Listen, Chuck. Charlie's still on the line with me.
He's here.
The exciting thing about the way Handle with Care works here is that it's one part of a greater system of trauma-informed school practices work that we're doing that serves to get kids the support they need because it's within a network of lots of training and awareness for educators, even for our students, parents, and community about the impacts of trauma on healthy development, on school success, and lifelong, physical and mental health outcomes for students. We have the platform for a real change in thinking. Hey, maybe the conditions aren't right for this student. Maybe there are things going on outside of school, but what can we do in the school setting to make the conditions right to set them up for success?
They're coming as fast as they can. The ambulance and the police are all coming lights and sirens.
Okay. For some reason or other now my screen doesn't want to. Okay. There we go. When I first started this job, I come from a rural department. It was about 6 officers. And, I did not know what ACEs was. And that's why when we do this training, we want to make sure that we emphasize to officers about ACEs and being trauma informed. And it's very important. The 1 hour will cover ACEs and the definition and the impact. If some of you will notice in the right-hand corner down here under the chronic stressors, it talks about a family member with substance disorder. So there's not a community probably in this state that doesn't have a drug abuse problem. And that's something that just doesn't go away in a month's time. I mean, that can last for years. And these children that are being brought up in these homes in drug abuse, you're more likely to see some of the other ACEs here. It's important that officers and all school staff understand the impact of ACEs and the problems that it causes. In school, it can be academic problems, absenteeism. A lot of times kids will end up involved in the criminal justice system. And then it also has a lot of health issues there. And so we cover that. We also talk about what is trauma. And what is important here is that an officer, if he has any doubt, if he's asking himself, should I do a notification? Is this a traumatic incident? If you're asking yourself that question, you need to send that notification. The prevalence of trauma, just like I was talking about the substance abuse. Chances are that if there's substance abuse, it increases the risk of maltreatment. A lot of times domestic violence and substance abuse go hand in hand. And a lot of times you're going to see these parents are incarcerated. So there's a possibility of 3 or 4 ACEs right there. And, I know when officers go out on calls, we see a lot of this that goes hand in hand. Another thing would be, a depressed family, might have a depressed family member. It can be verbal abuse, emotional neglect, physical neglect. All of these are ACEs that are impacting our children. Why should police leaders care about trauma? Because traumatized kids are more engaged and often more engaged in risky behaviors than their peers. Why should school leaders? Trauma turns off the learning switch. It decreases their reading ability, lower GPA, higher rate of school absences, dropout, and more suspensions and expulsions. Why healthcare leaders? Trauma in kids is linked to adult health and social problems in many studies. If any of you have had the Building Strong Brains, we're going to be working to get one about an hour of that on our website. But also we do have a video on our website, and I will show you that at the end, our website, ACEs Basics. We want to make sure that we have everything available for officers to be able, and school staff and educators, to go to our website and have, it's just a one-stop shop. ACEs tend to get passed down from generation to generation. And if you've been in as long as I have, 30 years, you know, our drug endangered children are having drug endangered children. So let's talk about Handle with Care. It's a program that's aimed at ensuring children who are exposed to violence will receive those appropriate interventions so they can succeed in school to the best of their abilities. And as I've said, you know, research shows that trauma undermines a child's ability to learn, to form relationships, and to function appropriately in the classroom. So what is Handle with Care? It's when an officer goes out and he encounters kids at a scene, he can send a heads up to the school. It's a notification, and we'll talk about that in a little bit about how that notification can be sent. The schools, they prep to be trauma sensitive and support these kids. And then mental health providers partner for on-site therapy. One of the most important things about this program is that no details are given. You cannot give any details. It's just 3 simple words: handle with care. The notice needs to be sent within 24 hours. If it happens on a Tuesday night, it needs to be there on Wednesday morning for the school to have it, so that the child is not will not be re-traumatized. So what would be some interventions? If a child, you've gotten a Handle with Care notification on a child and their behavior is, they're acting out, instead of sending them to the principal, we recommend that you send them to the school counselor. A school response without Handle with Care, say a child comes to school without their homework. Naturally, they're probably going to get a 0. A child falls asleep in class, they lose a recess. Say they got in a scuffle at lunch, they're going to get detention. They didn't bring their permission slip for the field trip, they had to stay back and read and stay in the library or stay with somebody. School response with Handle with Care, and these are trauma sensitive responses. They come to school without their homework and you've received a notification on them. The math teacher would give them extra time to do their homework, offer them some one-on-one help if it's needed. If they fall asleep in class, send them up to the school nurse to get some rest. If the scuffle at lunch, we're hoping if they've gotten plenty of rest and they're supported in the morning with trauma sensitive through their teacher, then they're going to have a good lunch with no issues. If they don't bring their permission slip for a field trip, the homeroom teacher would make a phone call to the family and get verbal permission over the phone. So these are just some trauma sensitive Handle with Care interventions. Handle with Care does not excuse bad behavior. Children are still held accountable for their actions. But you know, you don't want to suspend a child and send them home to where the trauma has occurred. You know, use trauma-sensitive approaches to dealing with children who are dealing with trauma. Handle with Care seeks to provide students with tools and skills to appropriately respond in an acceptable manner. It identifies kids that are most at risk. It provides the teacher with a heads up. It connects children with accessible mental health services if they're needed. It strengthens and improves relationships in the community. And thus you're hoping you're going to improve your academic, the social and emotional behavior outcomes. So how do you get a Handle with Care started? The first step is you want to have a community stakeholders meeting, and we can help you, provide you with a letter or email to send out. Your three key stakeholders are your law enforcement, your schools, and your mental health. You've got to make sure that they're on board. You would want to make sure you talk to those three key stakeholders. From the law enforcement, you want your sheriff, your chiefs. It's important to make sure if you have smaller departments in the area, say you've got a department's just got 5. Well, if they have a call, these children are going to be going to school. So it's important to get every chief of police in your county or community, and the sheriff, state police. Very good to have the DA on board, dispatch, school resource officers. All of these are good additional stakeholders, you know, to support the program. And the school director, you know, you definitely want them on board. Sometimes they're going to be busy, so they may send a designee, your principals, your vice principals, nurse, counselor, attendance supervisor, and again, your school resource officers. The school, you will need a commitment from them, and I think most schools have this now. Like I said, I come from a rural area, and they do, but a place for counseling, if it's available, but you want to have a commitment from them on that. Mental health, child protective services, again, some more stakeholders. Now, if you've looked at the Virginia or San Antonio, the SALAD program, you will see that they have daycares and they include that in their program. We're kind of recommending maybe starting off the first year if you're going to be implementing this program, you know, maybe adding the daycares and Head Start and some of those maybe the second year, but just start out with your schools the first year and get your program launched. But again, you can, if you want to go ahead and add them, other states do that as well. Other partners could be judges, family court judges, EMS. The program started in West Virginia and started in 2013 is when I think they piloted the program. And last year they actually added EMS and fire to be able to send out notifications. So I know in our community, most of the time, if there's a fire, you're going to have law enforcement on the scene, but sometimes with EMS, you're not. So you know, if somebody in the household has had like a heart attack and the child's been up all night because the ambulance has come in the middle of the night, this is still something that would be traumatic to a child, and you would want to send a notification on. Main thing you want to make sure when you have your community meeting is you're not duplicating notifications. You don't want police and EMS sending it same way fire and EMS. So you need to work that part out. There's 5 basic steps, and of course, starting the conversation, what y'all are doing right now. Seeing if there's interest in your community for the Handle with Care. And you create your group and have a vision. We can help you with any materials that you might need, and you build support and you plan your program. Your notification flow. Now, this is something that we are working on at a state level. We're actually working with the TBI to have a web-based reporting system. Right now, in some of the other states, and also I think the departments that are doing it here in Tennessee, you can do it by email, by phone, by text. But like I said, we are working to implement a statewide web-based where an officer is out on the scene. He can go to the website and just fill out the form real quick and submit it. And that will require, the school system giving us a couple of names that would need to be on there. You implement the program and you train your key personnel. And that means you want to train your police, your school, and your mental health personnel to implement the Handle with Care. Because there's some do's and don'ts in the Handle with Care that need to be covered. And then, like I said, that's also where we're going to briefly, like I showed you at first, talk about ACEs a little bit and talk about being trauma informed. And then you promote your program. And again, we can help you with give you some materials to help raise awareness of the program in your community. This program is about collaboration, law enforcement and the school systems and the mental health working together. And one of the key things is that you'll have some follow-up meetings. And I've talked to everybody, it's based on how your community is, how you work the program. But some of them have already, prior to even having Handle with Care, they have what they call child safety meetings. They meet with their school system on a regular basis, maybe a monthly or quarterly basis, just to talk about different things. This might be a good place to implement having a meeting about Handle with Care, but you want to talk about any problems you're having with the program, anything that needs to be improved. But the main thing is you cannot discuss the individual cases. You never want to discuss individual cases. What can we do for you to help you implement it? Like I said, we can assist you with your identifying your key partners, your stakeholders. We can assist you with materials, forms, and also we can provide you with training on Handle with Care and being trauma responsive. We will have sample forms, sample policies on our website. We have modeled our program after the West Virginia. Like I said, again, now you're going to see some changes. We went with some different colors and to make our website a little different and stuff like that. But we followed the fidelity of the program, which is very important. Law enforcement, teachers, and all school staff, have to have the 1-hour presentation. And it's an overview of impact of trauma on children, the key elements of Handle with Care. The school system will need to hold a strategic planning session to identify how these issues are impacting their students. And a lot of schools now the state is doing a program where they're going around and making a school trauma informed. So it's very important, and I can show you a website that you can get a lot of good information about school systems being trauma informed. Law enforcement supervisors, they need to, if they adopt the policy, of course, they need to train on that. One of the big things I hear about, I contacted all the departments that were doing it. I said, well, what kind of problems have you had run into any problems? And one of the things they said, they had to kindly re-emphasize it to officers. So, we recommend to the police departments, maybe when they have officer meetings, to emphasize the importance of continuing to do it, but also maybe doing, we have a roll call video on our website that they could use that as for training. And of course, your mental health provider should be trained and certified in trauma-focused interventions. Now this is our website, what it looks like. And if you'll notice the yellow block here, there's where the training, the free training is. These are the things that are on the website. You know, it's really step by step for law enforcement, schools, mental health, and the model of Fidelity program, which is very important, and also how to get started in your in your community. And that we have partnered with the Drug Endangered Children and the TBI, and like I said, we're working to come up with this reporting notification system. And there's some things we have to determine who's going to have access to it, and some of the data retention and some of those things. We got to work those out. But you know, we will be able to determine when we determine these things, then hopefully we can get that launched. On the website, there's 2 tracks. There's a law enforcement and an educator's track. It is 3 hours, but they're in 1 hour modules. And Becky Heiss, probably y'all are familiar with her, Beninger, East Tennessee. She's a national trauma-informed speaker. She did the training. You take 1 module and you can wait and take another module the next week. But on the law enforcement side, we did get post-certification for it. You do have to take a test, and then it will prompt you to take a survey, and then it'll give you a certificate. We're going to be working to get probably about an hour. The Building Strong Brains, which is the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, they do that training. We will, they have actually a 3 hour and a 1 hour block and like a 30 minutes. So I'm going to be working with them to try to get that put on the website. The ACEs basis is already on there. It's about a 5-minute video. You know, as I said, the reason this is so important is because I know me as an officer, it was like some red flags, alarms started going off, and I started thinking about, you know, calls and those kids being there, and this will help officers to be better officers if they understand about ACEs and if they understand about being trauma sensitive. We're working with Metro's coordinator, trauma-informed coordinator, and we're going to try to put like an hour video on there about strategies for the classroom, because we have a lot of schools asking us, well, what do we need to do? And then, of course, the handle with care basics, that's required. You got to have that. The rest of this is just strongly recommended. We have a lot of resources on our website that I think you'd find very beneficial. I put this on here, and I'll go ahead and read it. It says, I woke myself up because we ain't got an alarm clock. Dug in the dirty clothes basket because ain't nobody washed my uniform. Brushed my hair and teeth in the dark because the lights ain't on. Even got my baby sister ready because my mama wasn't home. Got us both to school on time to eat a good breakfast. Then when I got to the class, the teacher fussed because I ain't got a pencil. And the importance of that right there is that we don't know sometimes what these kids are going through. And if you come to school and you get fussed at, and some kids live in this condition. So it's very, very important that we make officers, teachers, school staff, bus drivers, you know, understand we don't know what these kids are going through at home. We got to change the conversation. And I know with y'all being trauma informed, y'all have heard this, but we've got to get our law enforcement, school staff, everybody thinking, instead of saying what's wrong with you, we need to start asking the question of what's happened to you. Our children are our future right now. You know, as I said earlier, we got drug endangered children, having drug endangered children. It's kind of like we're just treading water. We got to get back downstream, and we got to start helping these kids. This is my contact information. I do want to take a look at the website if we've got time, Melissa. and show y'all some of the features of it.
Yeah, we absolutely have time, Kim.
Can you see it? No?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Over here, well, let's go to the training and I'll just show you real quick. All right, you click on the training here. All right, say I want to take the trauma-informed policing. Click on that. And you, those from from Virginia that are on here, feel free to have your officers take this. It's not just a Tennessee specific. I'm going to put the TACP, which is who I work for. Go next.
Well, good morning. Thanks for being
up
here.
the
As Emily
video.
said, I'm Becky Haas.
When you finish the video, you hit next. You take the test. Once you take the test questions and you pass, it's like 6 questions, I think. And you can miss one and still pass. If you don't pass it, it prompts you to take it again or to watch the video again. If you pass it, then it gives you the evaluation to take, and then then your certificate. Very easy. I mean, I was well pleased how it turned out. If you go over here to it'll give you a program overview. And that basically tells you about the program. This is the law enforcement role. And like I said, step by step. And then a couple of videos there, the Metro video that you've seen. There's another good video there about safeguarding children of arrest. Give you the school's role. Same for mental health. There's where you'll find some of your documents that you'll need. The model of Fidelity. You need to make sure that you really understand this, because you're supposed to follow the fidelity of the program, or you can't call it Handle with Care. But again, a lot of good information here on the website. How to get it started in your community. Some of the things that I went over. And there's your sample invitation, people to invite to get the conversation going. Over here under resources, I want to show you this if some of your schools are asking. Helping traumatized children. If you click here, this website has a lot of resources for helping traumatized, and it even breaks it down into elementary, middle school, and high school. So a good resource for teachers if they start asking questions when you're trying to implement your program. Now, what I like to do is to make sure that if you are interested in implementing this program, I would like to come to your community and train, 10 or 15 people, depending on how many you've got. What would matter would be how many schools you got, but train them on how, so they can go out and train all the officers, make sure the officers get this training, and also make sure that the teachers and school bus drivers and all the staff who deal with the children get the Handle with Care training, that 1 hour. We got to make sure everybody at least gets that hour. We can encourage the rest of it. We want to make sure they get that, at least that 1 hour. So that's what, Melissa, we talked about me coming and and maybe May or whatever, that's what I would do, is try to train some people who are willing to go into the community and train others. And then there's some good information down here under the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, trauma facts for educators. You know, the police officers have to make the determination of sending the notification, but the work really lies with the school system and the educators and being trauma sensitive and dealing with the children. And there's some facts here about the program, when it started. There's also like a video that you can take through West Virginia, and it gives you a little certificate on the Handle with Care. And we have partnered with the Drug Endangered Children. There's a video there, some good information. We try to have all the information of things that children, of other partners who are trying to help children, and of course then also recognizing child abuse. And we have some important links there on reporting and responding to it. And I guess Melissa will take questions.
That's awesome, Kim. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I will say, so both Brandy Peters and I are trained trainers for Building Strong Brains. And I was kind of quickly looking through our list of folks here. There are several others. We've got Sullivan County Anti-Drug who can do the Building Strong Brains. I noticed that Jill with Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth is here. So they're the ones who do the Building Strong Brains. So you know, we're happy to do the Building Strong Brains presentation or find another facilitator who's available to do that. If you all are interested in bringing that to your organization, or you know, anywhere we can do that, so we can help work with that. In addition, if you want Kim to come and talk with your group about implementing the Handle with Care or doing that training, let us know. We can definitely facilitate that. So what questions do you all have for Kim about the Handle with Care program?
I have a question. This is Wallace Dixon from ETSU Strong Brain Institute. First time I heard about this program, it knocked my socks off about how brilliant it was and easy. It seemed to me it's so easy to implement, but you know, I've got to figure out a way to do that in higher education now, something like that. But I wonder what the incentive is for police departments to adopt it. Like, what's in it for them? Why would they ever want to do that? I mean, I see the value in it, but it's not clear to me that others would necessarily see the value in it. And it takes people to learn new stuff, and people are often resistant to learning new stuff. So just wonder about your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Most police officers, when you say something about helping kids, they're on board with it. I mean, you know, and I've been talking to chiefs and some sheriffs about it, and I've not seen really a whole lot of resistance on it. Everybody seems to be very on board with it. I think even more nowadays, we see these kids being raised in homes where there's not a parent there to sometimes be caring and nurturing and make them feel safe. And we realize that more and more as law enforcement. And so they're helping the kids. I think that's the incentive. They know this is a program that could help some kids and help them, you know. Kids need some type of an adult in their life, whether it's a school teacher, somebody to buffer and be there for them and help them with the stress that they're enduring.
Hi, Kim. This is Jody Hilbert, and I'm with King University, and I'm a social worker, and I'm a program coordinator and professor. And I would love the previous question was about how to implement this in higher ed. And I'm thinking, starting with our School of Education, that they train teachers before they become teachers. You know, there's student teachers training social workers before they're actually in the field practicing social work. Is this something that you've done before, considering going into higher education to even to guest speak and that kind of thing to bring this kind of information to the front?
Well, as I told you, last year I got hired to do this job. And of course, being hired to do this job during a pandemic, it was kind of frustrating. But all of a sudden, it seemed like after the first of the year, everybody's, very interested, wanting the program, and we're excited about that. And I can see what you're saying. Yes, I think it would be beneficial, and I would be, willing. I'm willing. That's my job. I'm going to be here to go out, do trainings, and educate and make, just awareness of this program and how beneficial it could be to kids and to help teachers as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. And Amy Little, you've got your hand up. What question do you have?
Hi. So I work for the Sullivan County Anti-Drug Coalition, and I work with folks who are incarcerated and have substance use disorders. And so when it comes to drug endangered children, I feel like there's maybe not enough conversation about what to me seems like a great way to help drug endangered children, which would be to help their parents who are using substances stop that. And I know there's some good work, like Free Hearts there in Nashville, and Families Free here where we are, has those conversations about, incarcerated parents and ACEs. And but when I hear going upstream, I also think, there's not really an upstream, because, it's the folks who are using now have children. And if you go even further upstream from the children, it's their parents. It's a cycle. It's intergenerational. So do you know of any good efforts or conversations that are being had right now about that? Or how can we explore that more, Kim?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was on a meeting yesterday with the Tennessee Children Commission Youth, and we were doing a strategic planning. They broke us out in groups, and I asked if this was being done as well. But to me, these people who are being arrested and have children, could the courts not somehow do a mandated parenting class and hopefully make them realize the impact of what they're doing and what kind of impact it has on their children? Now, that's just something that, I said something about, because I've thought the same thing, and believe me, I understand about addiction, and what an impact it has on the family. And, like I said, it's not just a month or two thing. I'm talking in a lot of families, it's 10 years. I mean, they say a lot of times that addicts really don't hit that point to where they realize they want to make a change in their life is in their 30s. So, I agree we need to do something and that's what I was suggesting I would maybe think about getting with the courts and saying, let's have a mandated parenting class, And that's just my, something that I have thought about.
That may be something further to that, Amy. I know First Tennessee Development District and Appalachian Sustainable Development both got Department of Labor work grants. And First Tennessee Development District on the Tennessee side is working with people who have substance use disorders and who are justice involved, and working with them prior to release. So maybe that's something that we can look at, supporting the work that Ballard and First Tennessee Development are doing to reach those folks prior to release with the parenting programs and those types of things.
For sure. There's especially the women that I work with. I mean, there's so much trauma there themselves. And you know, being away from their kids is traumatic. And, you know, it's a lot of, I'm not saying that everyone has their children's best interest in mind, but the majority of the women that I work with want nothing more than to restore their families.
Highlands Community Services on the Virginia side, they do parenting classes in the jails and strong dads. So that is happening in Washington County, Virginia. So they're great programs, and that builds a rapport between the inmate and a lot of us on the outside who are supporting those programs, and then they connect with us when they come out. So we're able to help them connect to services on the outside as well. So it builds that relationship, you know, while they're still in there, because they love their kids, you know, and they want to learn to be good parents. So thank you, Amy. I appreciate your heart for that.
You know, one of the things when I started this program, I just went in February to Building Strong Brains, train the trainer. And I had already had my PowerPoint stuff on the Handle with Care right up. And it's amazing how Building Strong Brains, ACEs, and Trauma Informed all go hand in hand with Handle with Care. You know, so again, a big key of this is making officers and educators in the school system more aware of what about ACEs and building strong brains and being trauma sensitive. Making that little alarm system go off in their head.
Oh, exactly. That light bulb moment is a great thing.
Yeah, it's like, well, you know, and not saying what's wrong with you, but what's happened to you.
Right. Great questions. What other questions for Kim? And Wally put in the chat that there is a CURE listserv, Colleges and Universities for Resilience, and he's put his email in there. So Kim, that might be a good way to get connected, like Wally and Jody were talking about, with that higher ed, so that we have our folks who are coming out of college and in things like social work or psychology who are already aware of this program and can help spread the word about it. All right.
Hi, this is Jill Stott. Thank you, Kim. That was wonderful. I work for Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth and cover the upper 8 Northeast counties, and work with all law enforcement, specifically towards the end of the year when we go in and monitor. And I always take an opportunity to talk to them about the Handle with Care program. So I would be more than happy to help connect and get a few conversations started in this area. And I'll send you my email if you're interested with that. But I really appreciate this and really excited. We have something rolling across the state. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Really appreciate all y'all's interest, and that would be great. Like I said, the goal is to have Handle with Care in every school system and in every county here. And it'll take some time, but I think we can get there. I've already trained, like I said, the 5 counties in the 8th Judicial District, someone there to be doing training in their communities. Going to be training in the morning, the drug endangered children. We're partnering with them, and they're going to go out and train in their counties. So that's 6 more counties we'll get there. So we'll slowly but surely get it in every county in the state, we hope.
Melissa?
Margaret, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to use this opportunity. So Amy, for you, and also Linda, just recognizing the support that our families need. And it goes so much beyond just education that they need so much support. One thing that is coming up, and it's going to have some stuff about Tennessee legislation, but hopefully have the big federal picture. We know that there's a lot of funding coming for supportive families and childcare, et cetera, through the federal funds. So we feel like we had talked about it, and now Tennesseans for Quality Early Education has a scheduled event where they will talk about what's coming down, so that all of us who are the cheerleaders and the advocates can really be well informed and be able to talk about how that's benefiting our families and what we can expect and how we need to follow it to see what we need to advocate to keep coming for that. So that event, it'll be on our calendar. It might be already on our website, but it's going to be April 30th at 11:30 our time. And I would think for our Virginia folks, the federal information is going to be the same. And if Virginia folks have anything similar coming down, I think hearing it from different people for what they're emphasizing and filling us in would be helpful. But this is huge opportunity to not only get some funding, but to draw attention and hopefully look at the results that we can then advocate for continued support. So thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate that. Any other questions?
Did everyone get my email? If not, I can bring it back up. If you want to reach out to me, and it's kim@tacp.org.
And Kim, I will go ahead and put that in the chat so that it becomes part of everybody's record. And Eric, did I see that you put your hand up?
Yeah, just real quick, just had a question. Obviously, I understand the law enforcement and the teachers. You know, there's a requirement. What do you want from the public? How do they help? Because I don't know that people want to get involved in, you know, if you make a claim against somebody, it's not true, that's legally comes back on you, right? You know, teachers and law officers are protected, but the public is not. So what's the role of the public that you need help with these programs?
Well, you know, as I said, as far as being able to send notifications, that's basically just left up to law enforcement. And if the communities want to go ahead and do fire and EMS, like I said, West Virginia added that in the past year, and they say that's been very successful. From the community, just, you know, support of the program, you know, and awareness. I think, you know, we have got to make sure that every community we need, anybody we can reach out to and train on ACEs and being trauma informed, it's going to be a benefit to that community. So encouraging people to be more aware of being trauma sensitive. That's a big piece of it, and, you know, getting that support from the community.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with Kim, and further to that, Eric, you know, I would encourage you to reach out to the, you know, chief of police or the sheriff where you are, and just ask them if they've heard of this. And if not, then share the information you learned today, share the website with them. But also for us personally to become more aware of ACEs and the impact that they have, of what toxic stress does, and how resilience can be built across the course of a lifetime. I think those are important things to find information on and to educate ourselves, so that when we do talk with first responders or people who would be directly involved in this program, we can explain to them why it's important. And we can just be advocates for it and for implementing it in our area, the areas that surround us. It's kind of your 3 feet of influence, you know, look around you and who's within 3 feet and how can you influence that to make it stronger.
You know, your civic clubs in your community, train them about ACEs, train them, and that's when you can bring up the Handle with Care program. But you know, doing the Building Strong Brains has a 30-minute program. You know, go to these civic meetings and just, it's, you know, making the community aware of what's going on. Some people actually probably, I've seen a lot of you on other TCCY trainings or meetings and stuff like that. But, you know, some people, when you get out here and you talk to them about what kids are going through, and they don't realize it. So I think making the public aware of what's going on.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Melissa, I have a question. This is Danielle Dye, and this is for Kim, but I know some colleges and universities, this goes along the same lines as Jody's question, is she thought this would be a great program for those who are in the Department of Education, but has this been discussed for criminal justice majors and things like that? Because I think that also would be another great opportunity depending on, you know, the route that you take, but there's a lot of criminal justice programs popping up and they're newer programs. So making those connections too would be, I think, ideal. That's just more of a comment and or a question, but Kim, have you all had those discussions?
I think that's a great idea for us locally, Danielle. I'd love to talk with you because we have the law enforcement academy that's on the Virginia side. Our closest one is Walters State, which is outside of our current service area. And so let's talk about getting folks before they graduate, before they come out of, you know, there is an associate's degree at Highlands. There's an associate's degree at Northeast State that's criminal justice. So,
well, Bluefield College, which is on the Virginia side, also has a newer criminal justice program, and so does Radford. So those are, I see both sides. I definitely see the education component or even psychology, but I think there are so many routes you can take with criminal justice and where people want to lead. And I think this is an opportunity to start having those conversations sooner. So,
yeah, and I think that's something. So we've got that first responder subcommittee. That's the perfect place to move that forward. I think that's a great idea. So Melanie, if you're still on here, then just put a little note on that for us to move that forward. And Kim, do you have thoughts about that?
Well, you know, y'all brought up a great point. Of course, you know, with us just now implementing the program, our primary focus is to get it in our school systems and stuff. But as I said, as you have these follow-up meetings in your community, and these are great ideas to start getting it out there. And I like that. I like what you are talking about. And that's what each individual community has to decide how they want to implement the program, and you can do that.
Unfortunately, I'm on the Virginia side, so we don't have not unfortunately, but I would say we just don't have a state mandate yet to do that. But we do have kind of siloed communities that are already implementing it. So just no statewide jurisdiction to mandate it. That's all.
Well, you know, Tennessee, we really don't have a mandate to do the program. We're just taking, as Melissa said earlier, Governor Lee is initiative to get this program launched throughout. And of course, Virginia, you right next, West Virginia, Andrea Dar, what a great resource she could be to Virginia. She was in on implementing the program from day one. And I talked to her several times, and she has been very helpful. So again, I would give that resource to y'all to reach out to her to help them start trying to implement it across your state.
Wonderful. Good stuff. Margaret, you came off mute.
I just was going to follow with Danielle with, you know, that is, we have plus minus here with being 2 states, but I think it is a plus that, I mean, certainly Virginia is doing some wonderful things that we are picking up on, and the same thing for Tennessee. So the fact that we have those that we share so much, as opposed to not being a border community where we might not be talking about them as much. So I think that's huge. And certainly we can play that to our advantage as much as possible. So
Definitely.
And certainly Danielle, United Way of Southwest Virginia has a lot with the state of Virginia. So taking initiatives to the state, I think has good opportunities for y'all to help promote it.
All right. Well, Kim, thank you so much for your time, for the information. I think, you know, this group is a bunch of movers and shakers. Let me just say they are get stuff done kind of people. So now that they have more information about Handle with Care, we'll help, you know, spread the information far and wide. Kim's email address is in the chat. So feel free to reach out to her for more information. And we'll also be sharing this recording with everybody so that you can remember what the details were and all that. So thank you so much for your time and your talents, Kim. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate y'all being interested in the program. And like I said, if you need me to come up there and do some training and train some people so that they can go out into your community, be happy to do it. Okay.
So thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So it is 11:08. Want to take just a few minutes and remind everybody, I'm going to let Margaret and Melanie, are you still on here, and Brandy, just talk for a minute about your all's subcommittees, make a pitch and share information so that if you all do want to get involved in those subcommittees and the work that they're doing, reach out to these folks, and they're going to be scheduling meetings hopefully sometime in the near future to continue work. So does somebody want to, I'm putting them on the spot here. I will say that's on me. I am putting them all on the spot.
I'll go first. We have not met since the last time, so we're overdue. But when we did meet, just a few of the highlights that what we're working on, and this is for the education and it's internal, what do we need? And some of the things we came up with that we think we need more of is the fact that we're wanting to talk more about building resilience as opposed to total focus on trauma. So we need some education for ourselves for how's that transition, what does that look like, how do we do that? So trying moving from trauma to resilience, which doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about trauma, but it does mean that everybody can help build resilience. So we want to figure out how we can do that. What is a culture of resilience? What's the vision? What does that look like? Or as Brene Brown says, what is that painted done? What does it look like? The other thing we wanted to learn a little more about is collective impact. How do we work together to achieve these goals? So what do we need to know as a group to make that effective and to work in that way? With that, it's also data, because that's part of collective impact is shared data. So how do we use that data? Where do we find that data? And we know we have the Ballot and Accountable Care community, who's also a big time picture of collective impact and has a lot of that in the move toward Unite Virginia and Unite Us. Hopefully it's going to be helpful. So how do we get educated about that? And then moving out of COVID mode, what do we need to know? How do we do that for actually how's that process? And then also how have we changed and what education do we need? What information to be able to be in this post-COVID world that has had huge impact? And then lastly, just that fits into those, so maybe it's more process, is learning more about frameworks and utilizing frameworks, and also mental health first aid and the whole realm of mental health. I see Tony DeLucia nodding his head a little bit. Tony and Amy and Wally were some of the folks in that group. Did I cover that from what y'all remember that we need to get back to? Yes, no.
We got thumbs up from people.
Tony, good, good. Okay, thank you. And so we really need to set a meeting between now and the next meeting. And also some of this will be topics for our meetings that going forward. So we need to get busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for that. And so I put Margaret's email address in the chat box. If you are interested in getting involved in that subcommittee, shoot her an email. She'll let you know when the next meeting is coming up, because we've got to educate ourselves before we can reach out to the community. So what is it that we're doing internally and getting our stuff together? So thank you for that, Margaret, and for everybody who's already serving on that committee. So Brandy or Melanie? Brandy, you came off, so we'll let you go next.
Okay, so my palms are sweaty because I was not prepared for this question. I'll just be honest. I want to share a couple of thoughts, and then I will talk about the subcommittee. Eric, I'm looking at you. You had a great question. What do you need from the community earlier? So in my humble opinion, it doesn't matter where you're going to go and what you're going to do. You can be a teacher, you can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, you can be a police officer, you can be in human resources, you can be a plant supervisor, you can be Joe Blow on the street. You need to know about ACEs. And you need to know about trauma-informed care, because as the community, if we start looking at it as a collective impact model, all of us together, no matter what sector we're in, if we start looking at it through that lens of what happened to you, man, we just become better people, right? So it doesn't matter what you're going to do when you grow up. We got to take care of our kids. We've got to educate ourselves, and we've just got to be better people. And we just have to always assume that trauma's in the room, and we have to be responsive to that. I'm a little passionate about it, and I hope that shows through what I'm saying. We need to train everybody. We need to educate everybody. That's what we need from our communities, right? That's what we need. So I'm part of the business sector, and we've not met since the last one. And our thoughts were wrapped around, and I don't have my notes because obviously this question was just spur of the moment, but was wrapped around how do we get businesses involved and leadership in businesses to recognize that there's trauma and there's ACEs, and instead of them saying, hey, why can't so-and-so just pull himself up by his bootstraps and get to work? Well, maybe he don't got boots, right? So just getting people aware of that. And it is one of those things, again, we ourselves, like Margaret said, need more education about how to involve people and how to get people passionate about it, and how to build that resilience, and how we build resilience in adults in the business world so that they can go home and be mom and dad and build resilience in their kids. And so that's kind of where our headspace is. We had a couple other ideas that I'm not really sure that during the time of COVID was going to work. But we need to get back together, and we really need to get boots on the ground and get busy and getting everybody involved. Did I miss anything about anybody that was on my subcommittee? I'm not seeing anybody saying anything.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Appreciate that.
Can I answer a question on that?
Yes.
Or ask a question, I should say. My only concern, and I love the idea of the community getting involved and everyone being educated. It's so important. But in the presentation that Kim gave, there is no training for the public. And I just feel that the public needs to know what they can and cannot do, because that's what I was referring to. I mean, you making a claim that somebody that works for you or works with you has a traumatic issue, or their kid, gets into very gray legal areas. So you have to be trained on who do you bring it to, what do you say, what do you not say. And I think that's, to get the public involved, they need to be educated on, we don't want everyone going out going, well, this person's this and this person's that, because it's chaos and it's a big problem. That's all. That's the reason I was bringing that up, was how do you educate the public?
So I think the next time that we host a Building Strong Brains training, Eric, I think we'll invite you so that you can be part of that, and that way kind of how to have the words and you're educated enough to have those conversations. And we do those trainings, with our business community. Melissa and I did a training with an HR group not too long ago at one of our partner businesses, and every single one of them had a light bulb moment, like, oh, right? And so I think that education is the way to do that. And I guess that's my question, to my subcommittee is, how do we get people involved? How do we get leaders of businesses or of the community or of the school system or of all the things, how do we get all those people involved? And it's education. It's just got to be.
No, it's great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Appreciate that. Melanie, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Melanie was kind enough to step up and chair the First Responder Subcommittee. And I noticed there are a couple of folks in here that are new to us, and they've come through invitations through the First Responders Subcommittee. So Melanie, talk a little bit about what that is, and I'll go ahead and put your contact information in the chat.
Sure. Thanks, Brandy. Thanks, Melissa. Sorry. Yeah. So we have been working for the last few months, and just recently, probably the last 2 months, I guess, since our last meeting, to invite first responders. So our little group has put together a list of contacts, and those of us who have a bit more familiarity with those contacts, reaching out and asking them to first attend this meeting today. So I do hope that some of our first responders were able to make it and listen to this great presentation about Handle with Care. I do think it's extremely important. So the main project of the group is to make sure that we are reaching out to first responders to get them trained in ACEs and trauma informed, and provide that kind of support that they need. So I do hope that we have from either this meeting or from reaching out to our first responders that they can join the first responders group, the committee, because it's important that we have those folks involved in this so they can help us help them. They need to tell us what they need as far as training and outreach and support from the community. So I do hope we get a couple more folks on that committee that can provide that information, and we can provide the support that they need. So that will be what we'll be working on. Hopefully we'll be getting some meeting times together soon, probably be May, and try to figure out what kind of training support we can provide. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. So if you're interested in serving on that subcommittee, reach out to Melanie. I put her contact information in the chat box. We appreciate all of our subcommittee work that's going on to move us forward. I will say Melanie Quesenberry has posted some really awesome stuff in the chat about Highlands Community Services. They have a youth mental health first aid coming up on April the 27th at 9 a.m. And so she's got an email address for Mike Nash. There are some spaces available. And, I've been through the adult mental health first aid and the youth mental health first aid. They're incredible trainings. And so being able to attend those is great. On the Tennessee side, our friends over there at Frontier Health, I see Brandy Maltzberger's in the room. Our friends on the Tennessee side, Frontier Health offers the mental health first aid, both youth and adult as well. And then also, I'm scrolling down here. Highlands Community Services offers a little bit different ACEs training. The ACEs interface is the one that they use on the Virginia side. Even if you've been through Building Strong Brains, ACEs interfaces, there's enough of a difference. There's some similarities. There's enough of a difference that it would not be mundane for you to go to both of them because they do take different slants. So they offer that as well. And then she put her contact in there for the ACEs interface training. So I'm going to open this up. If anybody has any other information, things that they have coming up, trainings or information they want to share, questions, if there's something that you need that you think that this group might be able to answer, if you'll come off mute, raise your hand, whatever you need to do, but tell us who you are, where you're from, and then the information that you want to share or ask. Quiet group.
I'll go ahead again, Melissa. Real quick, sorry. We're going to have a Building Strong Brains training on May 17th. It is on Zoom, so you can be anywhere in the world. We literally have people from all over the world. It's really cool who have joined us. We'll be putting up an Eventbrite so that you can find the link to sign up. Of course, it's all free. Just hop on and sit back and relax and learn all about it. And then this weekend, just real quick, there is a DEA national take back for medications. So clean out those medicine cabinets and dispose of any unwanted, unused, expired medications. We'll be at 2 locations doing Narcan training and lock boxes and talking to folks if they want more information about SCAD or finding treatment. We'll be at the Bristol Police Department there in the parking lot on Anderson Street, and then also in Kingsport at the Dobbins-Bennett parking lot, 10 to 2 on Saturday.
That's awesome, Melanie. The Dobbins-Bennett parking lot, is that the one by the tennis courts?
No, that would be down on Fort Henry Drive, that bigger parking lot in the front there.
DB is like a college campus, y'all. It takes up most of downtown Kingsport.
It's big. We're gonna be at the glass front of it that they've put on.
The new part, the bougie part. Got
yeah.
it. Okay, great.
Melanie?
Yeah.
Melanie, what time is the meeting on May 17th?
Oh, from 1 to 4.
Thank you.
Great.
We'll also be doing drug take back on the Virginia side at Food City locations, and we will be doing revive trainings at some of those as well. But I want to encourage you all to pick up doTERRA packs while you're at drug take back and dispose of your over-the-counter medications at home. Many of those are being abused, and we need to safeguard those as well. There has been a 15-year-old girl that has overdosed and died on Benadryl. And so we need to be mindful of those over-the-counter medications as well. So ASAC, I'm Linda Austin, I forgot to tell you that, with ASAC. ASAC has the opportunity to partner with Walmart. Walmart has created this cool little virtual reality simulation about overdose and revive. Of course, they don't call it revive, naloxone administration. Reviving folks in different scenarios, because the overdose doesn't always look like recreational drug use. Sometimes it's older people that have forgotten and taken their medication twice. Sometimes it's a new prescription on top of an old one that causes respiratory failure. And so it's important that people understand the different scenarios that it could happen in, and how revive, naloxone can revive people in all those scenarios if it's an opioid involvement. So we have this live event with Walmart and CADCA on May the 6th at 6:30. We would love for you all to jump on this Zoom webinar with us, because they're going to ask for feedback about how best to use this virtual training. And so we want a great showing. I've attended a couple of those out in Nevada and Utah, and they've had 20, 25 people. And I thought, when they told us we could invite and have as many as we want to, I thought, you don't know what you're asking here in the mountains. We will jump on and support each other. So it's good training for you, for all of us, but it's also a show of support, of solidarity here amongst agencies that work together. So I will send more information, Melissa, about that to you if you will push that out. May the 6th at 6:30 p.m. With Walmart and CADCA. CADCA is the Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. If you're not familiar with CADCA, it's a great national organization that we're part of. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Just one question about that. So Food City locations for the drug take back. I know Euclid Avenue in Bristol typically does it. Is it all the Food City locations?
It is not all the food cities this year. They're scaling it down because of COVID. But you can go on the, actually you can go on ASAC's website. We posted it on there, a link. You can put your zip code in and it'll pop up. That is stopsubstanceabuse.com. And it's on the homepage. Just scroll down. And the DEA link is on our website now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just follow with a plug for CADCA. It is like the king, queen of coalition development. Fantastic resources for coalitions, how they work together. And from what I kind of see, collective impact is like a step up from coalitions. So if you know how to do coalitions, you're just about there for collective impact. So anyway, good resources, great resources.
Great. Thank you, Margaret. Who else?
Linda, how can we make sure that our regional overdose prevention specialist gets an invite to that meeting?
If you are on the ASAC email list, you'll get notice of it. And we're getting ready to send out a save the date because they're probably, Walmart is setting up the Zoom webinar. It's going to be on their platform. And so we probably won't get that link for the meeting until a couple of days beforehand. But if you're on the ASAC email list, you will get it. And if you want to be on that email list and you're not, my email address is lindaaustin1225@gmail.com. And we'll put you on the ASAC list. I'll put that in the chat as well.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
What other questions or announcements do we have? All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I love seeing your smiling faces. It really does make it a great towards the end of the week. So again, next month we'll have our Youth Networking Alliance meeting because we meet every other month. So they are very, similar in bent. We're trying to decrease trauma, take care of our children, families, youth. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can, I know y'all have emails from me and from Margaret and from Brandy also. We're happy to connect you if there's somebody else that you need connection with, you don't have their contact information, we're happy to share that as well. But thank you all. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see you soon.